So what happens to Revit if you have a family with nearly 20,000 family types? So in this video, we're going to find out. You'll see right here, this family, we have just very simple, basic table. And in the table, we've got one type. And here's some basic parameters we have for parametric control of the width, height, length, depth, and such, along with some materials in here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to export out this file, export it. We're going to give it a name. It's called Zen Table, and press save. So we now exported the table, and we're going to now create 20,000 parts and see what happens in Revit. For speed in this video, I'm going to open up Family Type Manager to go and create the nearly 20,000 components. So let's go ahead and first just import in that type catalog into Revit and our table. Load that into the system. All right, that's done. So we have all of our products we need here for the product. Let's go back in here and build out this 20,000. So go back in our type builder. I'm going to fill in all of our parameters for our table. So we're going to create this table for all these different heights, widths, lengths, leg diameters, top thicknesses, and material assignments. Let's go ahead and generate those out. Okay, we just generated out those 20,000, almost 20,000 components. We're going to select those. We're going to transfer that over here to load in the system. That's done. Let's go ahead and add a description in here as well too. And fix this real quick here. And then we'll push all the data into Revit and see what happens. Let's go MB, MS. Let's abbreviate these real quick. All right, so we now have 20,000 different Revit components, all custom labeled and named. So let's go ahead and just copy that. Let's pick everything. Let's copy that over to our clipboard. Header, that's done. And we have our 20,000 line item components. 19,000. 875 parts. Sure, we'll create a backup. Done. All right, so now let's go back into Revit. Here's Revit. We're going to go into our import mode. I'll show you two things what happens in Revit. One is when we load this into the family. Currently, the file size is set for here, the 652 kilobyte file. The file we exported for the type catalog was only just a few K, is now actually 6 megabytes now. So let's see what happens when we load this catalog into Revit. So, and will Revit load 20,000 line items? So we'll find out. So let's go ahead to import, and let's click this one right here, and let's go ahead and load the table. We'll import all the new types, overwrite the existing, and now it's going to now load all 20,000 types, hopefully, into the system. As you see, it is taking a little while to load all 20,000 types into the Revit family. We'll also save the family, so you see what happens with the family when you load all types into a family. So definitely this is a very extreme condition. That's done. Go to our preview mode on, zoom back here real quick, and let's look at the 20,000 types that were just loaded in this family. So family types opening. Here it is. We now have all 19,875 but was types. So we'll go and click on these, apply, and we're seeing our different sizes. Let me go ahead and turn on for materials, and then we're going to back and do some more testing. So there's realistic. Let's go back and finish this. So you have a little bit of delay in Revit when your family is opening up a large type catalog of family types. And now we go through here and toggle through. You'll see that the speed of those families is very quick. I go to the smaller families up here. So every single thing will load into Revit. So it doesn't really matter how large. I've done up to, I guess, close to 100,000 different family types into a family, and Revit will take on this data. So there's all your information. It also does everything properly for language, as I put in here, the Zen and Chinese. And each one will update according to your information. So now let's go ahead and test this. Let's save this file and see what happens with the saving information. Previously you saw that this was a 652 kilobyte file. Let's now save it and see what happens. So we'll go to File, Save. And now it's going to save. It's going to take a little bit to rewrite the Revit database for this family. Okay, that took almost 30 seconds to save the family, and the family has now grown from 652 kilobytes to 23.9 megabytes. So you want to be very careful when you're loading large type catalogs into families, and to keep the type catalog outside of the family itself. So when you load into a project, you can pick those products and parts. So we'll also show something before we load into the project, what happens when you try to save a file. So in this case here, I went ahead and took the basic Revit family here, which no type catalog loaded, and we're going to now save that catalog, and it has this large, massive type catalog of almost 20,000 family types are in the same folder. So what happens with this when we only have one file now? If I go back in here and do a file, save as, family, and I'm going to go ahead and just run it under a compact mode and press save. Okay, so saving that file with only one family type in here, because of the large type catalog, it took 42 seconds to save the family, and the family size did not reduce. The family is actually small, but the family catch is reading this information because it's in the same folder, and it's generating a much larger file. So let's go ahead and load the single family into a new project and see what happens, and then we're going to come back and load the type catalog environment. I've got a new clean project open. What we're going to do is take this original family that currently shows to have 23.6 megabytes. It is only a single family. That is right here. So there's your single family. And we're going to load that into the new project. There it is. You see right here under furniture, we have a Zen table and we have just the standard. If I go to 3D, you'll see there's your element. So if I go back and save this brand new file, save as, project, even though this file looked to be a 23.6 megabyte file, test, and save it. If I go back and look at that file here for a test table project, it is only a 792 kilobyte file. So it looks like you're loading massive file families into a project. You're really not. Now, how do we overcome this issue in here? And then we're going to test loading in the full catalog in here as well too. So number one, when you're in a family, if you want to save and you have a large type catalog, I find it's best to go ahead and just give this just a temporary name in place here, modification. Then in the family, if I want to come back in here and do a file, save as, family. Again, this is still just one family in here. So make sure it's compacted. Press save. And now this family is back to 736 kilobytes. So just by modifying out that name. So what's important is that go ahead whenever you're saving a Revit family, make sure that large type catalogs have a temporary name in place before you go back and then come back afterwards, and just give your type catalog back to match. Now you've got a small Revit family, and you also have your full catalog you need of all your parts. Now let's go ahead and load in and see what happens with Revit project when you go ahead and pick a large type catalog, and regard to load time and what happens with the file size. So if I go in 3D here for view, I'm going to go back and now and load a family type. So we'll come back in here to our type catalog, our furniture, and let's go ahead and pick now on the tables, the Zen table. So we're going to click open. All right, so that took 34 seconds to load the family, but important to this is that Revit will load any size catalog. So again, I've tested up to 100,000 family types in one family, and you're able to quickly go in here and pick all of your sizes. Scroll down here, you see here you get the full list. So this answers people's questions about how big of a family will Revit take, and it will take on a massive amount of data built into each one of these families. So I'll just throw a couple more in here and we'll test that, save the file, and see what happens with the file size as our final test. Click OK. That's fine. Now you see we've loaded these different families in place here. So let's just go ahead and drag some over here. And I'll go ahead and throw on the visibility. And let's go ahead and grab some other ones in here. And just two more, and we'll see how it's with the file size. A little big one. Okay, so at this point here, let's go back in here and run a file, save as, my project, and we'll give it a 2 version. That's done, and let's see what the file size here shows. So for project 2 is 828 kilobytes. So I hope this video was of interest to see what exactly happens and how to manage type families, and what Revit can do with families and project environments. Thank you.